Welcome everyone. Today we have the 2023 Nissan Z, the all-new Z for a night review. And in this night video, we're going to take a look at all the exterior lights, the interior lighting, get it out on the road for a test drive and see how well these headlights do. If you want to see a full review, I've got one also in the description. Be sure to check that out. All right, y'all, let's start things up front. First of all, looking at these headlights. Now, these are actually inspired from a 1970s version of the Z from a Japan-only model. And you've got these half circles above and below with LED high beams and LED low beams. On the other side, I've got the high beam on. It's that horizontal light, as you can see, and then the low beams over here. The top half circle turns into the turn signal. I think these headlights look nice. What do you think of that half circle design on both sides? Now this paint color is called Passion Red. It's a Passion Red tri-coat. It's two-tone with the black top. You'll see the blinker in the mirror. These are 19-inch wheels on our performance model. And the side body look, what do you think? Definitely got that heritage look of the Z with that long hood, sloping rear. Now coming to the back, you'll see you've even got the spoiler on the side sill. You've got a diffuser back here. You even have a spoiler. This is like a little retro look in here. I think this looks nice. You've got an LED turn signal, LED taillights right there, the marker light as well, even LED license plate lights. What do you think of this? Z badging, and then you've got the brake and reverse. Just a quick look at this low priority area on this vehicle. You can push right under the Nissan logo to lift this lift back. You've got this type of opening here, and you've got decent space, but it's definitely not the most practical. There's just one little light coming from down there to shine in there when it's real dark. It'd be nice if there was maybe a light up above to shine down because you can't see much, but just thought I'd show you. Now look at these flush door handles. So that's one thing, but also you see the Z right there? Those illuminated sill plates are actually optional. You can get that as an optional feature. I think that looks nice. But we also have the performance trim here. We've got this red with the black suede. You can get blue or black in here as well. What do you think of the interior? I'll go into more detail in the full review. Got a couple of big digital displays. Let's hop in. All right, y'all, we are now inside. We've got push button start down there. I like that little Z graphic that pops up. Nice big digital cluster. I'm gonna go through all these interior lights and all the buttons and controls that you get. First of all, one kind of traditional thing up here, look at these gauges. You've got the boost, the turbo speed, the voltmeter up there, nice and crispy clear. Now over on the door, I'm gonna show you these window switches, the lock switches, the mirror switches. They all have a light, which is good. On the steering wheel, you've got this white backlighting. I like the steering wheel controls in here. They're nice and large and fairly easy to use. I mean, they're just very basic. You can't see them right now, but we do have some paddle shifters on here, which I'll go through in the full test drive. Then you've got this digital display standard. This is over a 12-inch digital display on any new Z. So this works pretty nice. You've got a few different views. I'll go through a little bit more detail in the full video. Now this is just from the time I've basically just been sitting here, but you can see quite a bit of good information on here. There's a lot that you can customize on here as well. And let me go through a couple different views. So this is just the normal. Now let's go to sport. Changes where the focus is. I think that looks pretty cool. And then let's go to the enhanced, which completely changes things and pushes everything to the side. So take a look at that. Which one do you prefer? If you want to adjust the interior brightness on the buttons in the digital display up here, this button right here will do that for you to adjust this screen and all the physical buttons like on the steering wheel as well. Then as we move over, we've got a 9-inch screen on this performance model, but an 8-inch screen is standard. This is a touch screen. It looks like the regular Nissan screens with the physical controls down here. So you've got the brightness control right there, a couple of physical shortcut buttons, which is always good to see. Wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Now, if I go back to the main menu, this looks just like old Nissan. So this is a little disappointing. I was hoping for some kind of new cool infotainment, but it still gives you all that you need. It's easy to operate. You can customize it. The audio is Bose on this particular performance model. The volume knob and the tuning knob get little illuminated rings around them, but it's very mild. I wish there was a little bit more. And then there's some lighting right here for your automatic temperature control, illuminated USB-C and USB-A. auto stop start button. You've got a drive mode button right there. We'll go through that later. Your shifter is a little bit different. So obviously this is the automatic shifter. You can get a manual in here. You got heated seats right here and a button to open up your trunk. There's actually buttons right next to me that adjust the seat that don't have any lighting, right next to the handbrake. So there's some little buttons right there, but there's no lights. There's also no lights here back at the cup holders. So you've got one exposed cup holder, a second one that can be covered up, and then you can push that to open up this, which does not have a light inside of it. The performance model gives us a soft damping glove box, and we get a light, probably on both models. Right overhead, you got an automatic dimming rearview mirror standard, and I like how it's actually not frameless, because then the entire mirror will automatically dim. Now overhead, we've got two big old bright lights, and you just punch the lights to turn them on. And when you've got those lights on, it is darn bright in here. I mean, you can see everything in here. Give you a better look at this nice looking leather seat with this suede. Looks pretty good. Also right up overhead, that is the switch to turn on whether the lights turn on or not and when you open the door. If you want to check yourself out, you've got a vanity light. The only thing I really wish we had in here, or an option for it, was some ambient lighting. Now you saw the sill plate lighting, but there's no like ambient lighting, no soft glow over this from up above. I just wish we had maybe an option for a little bit more in here, but otherwise I like the lighting in here and it fits this cabin well and this car. Now as we look straight out at the headlights, we've got a nice beam pattern that does go pretty wide. That dip is intentional to prevent blinding oncoming drivers. Pretty strong over here, a little bit of fade off into the corners. And we'll get this out on the road so you can get a better look, but nice bright high beams, and it's a different high beam than the low beam, so they both stay on. There are no fog lights, peripherals, it's okay, but we'll get it out on some dark roads and hopefully get a good look. Now we're gonna look off into the distance, get a good distance. I always like to line up on this hill, and you can see that the red posts over there are illuminated pretty well, better than some vehicles, but you have the obvious dip over here as it's supposed to. That is probably a little less, that's some gnarly lightning, but that's probably a little less with compared to some other vehicles, but high beams, nice and bright, lights up the whole hill. At least you have the high beams because it's definitely a little dim over there. But let's get this out on the road. All right, y'all, let's get behind the wheel of this new 2023 Nissan Z. So this test drive is going to be mostly about how the headlights do at night, things like that, instead of the actual driving dynamics of the car. Be sure to look in the description for the full review if you want to see more details on that. Right off the bat, I've got the automatic high beams on. They turned on even though there's a car over there, so I'm going to turn them off. But we're going to get on just kind of a fairly well lit road to start with. Then we'll get on a darker road in a bit. But first, let me put it in sport mode and hammer down. Wow. Not gonna lie, this Z is definitely fun to drive and pretty exhilarating. I mean, this is pure sports car right here. It feels like it too, but this is about the night driving impressions. So right off the bat, neither of the side mirrors are automatic dimming, but this main rearview mirror is automatic dimming, so something to keep in mind there. I like how it's the full mirror as well, and I like the interior lighting in here for the most part. It is kind of a sterile white color, so if that bothers you, you might want to consider that. You know, some people like the red or the bluish color. This is just kind of sterile white in here. Even on this well-lit road, I can definitely still see the beam pattern on here. These headlights are nice and bright white with the LED. So the automatic high beams are on, and they turned off because of the oncoming traffic there. So that's good. And there's a car right there. Low beams are still on. No problems. No blinding anybody except back at that stoplight. All right, we're just in normal mode, but we're going to get on a darker road here. Hopefully you can get a good look at these headlights, and we'll switch over to a different camera in a sec. Alright, so the automatic high beams are on. I'm going to turn them off for a sec, see how the low beams reach out. So in my lane, it reached out to that corner real quick. Opposite lane, it's definitely a significant cutoff. And that's on purpose, but it seems to be maybe a little shorter than what some others are. low beams are still on. Good distance in my lane, real good distance in my lane, very short on the oncoming lane. Now the high beams, I'm just gonna leave automatic high beams on now for a bit. High beams are fantastic. They look excellent. They're very bright, good distance, and decent width to them as well. This Z handles so well too, so cemented to the ground. I think Nissan said they like to say hardwired to the pavement, and it feels like it. So interesting, every car I drive just about shuts off with that bright light, but they did not shut off here. High beams doing a great job straight out ahead. Now the low beams, my lane looks okay, looks pretty good, but it is a very, very short cutoff on that side. So cornering to the left is very hindered because of that. There's no adaptive lights. We could really benefit from that, an adaptive function or a cornering light over there. But peripherals off into the ditch I can see okay. They're not super wide, especially off to the left, but off to the right they are. So looking for wildlife or some roads or deer running out in front of you, you might be okay. Now low beams are on. The low beams can have really good distance if you give them a chance, but sometimes they seem to aim a little low. Now the high beams are on. High beams are super bright. I definitely like that. I think if you leave the automatic high beams on, you can trust them for the most part. If there's a cross traffic, you're gonna have to shut them off because obviously we blinded somebody back there. Now, coming over here through a couple little corners, if I'm looking to the left, it's pretty darn dark over there. I mean, I can't see hardly anything. It's almost pitch black. Now, if I turn, you can see just how much we were actually missing. Now, the high beams, if we're gonna turn to the right, turning to the right is much better. So turning to the left, very hindered. High beams there. Well, what do you guys think? What do you think of this interior? I wish we had a little bit of ambient lighting in here, but otherwise, I like the way the lights look. The screen is nice, the digital display is nice, and very crystal clear as well. The headlights are nice and bright, but definitely dark on the oncoming traffic side, so you don't blind people, give and take. But leave your thoughts down below. Leave a thumbs up if you really liked this video or appreciated it, and check out the full review down below. Subscribe for more like this, and have a great night.